A crew member froze mid-sentence inside the garage, staring at a piece of paper that had just been handed to him, and within seconds, that single sheet was traveling from hauler to hauler faster than any lap time ever could. Nobody said it out loud yet, but something had just changed for every team preparing to roll into New Hampshire Motor Speedway, and none of them had agreed to it. On the surface, it looked like a gift. More time on track, more laps, more data. But a different question was already spreading through the garage. What if this so-called gift was built to help the teams that needed help the least? The number at the center of it all was 50 minutes. One single session, no groups, no split schedule. Nobody outside the room yet understood why that number was making veteran crew chiefs uneasy. Was NASCAR finally giving the underdogs a real shot, or arming the richest teams with an even bigger weapon? Does more practice time actually help the smaller teams close the gap, or does it just stretch that gap wider? Drop your answer in the comments, because what happens next in this story might completely change your mind. Here is what actually happened. Beginning at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, NASCAR scrapped the split-group practice format used for years and replaced it with one uninterrupted 50-minute session for the entire Cup Series field. But most fans missed the second layer buried inside the announcement. NASCAR was also adding a second set of practice tires to every team's allotment, meaning teams were not just getting more time, they were getting more raw material to use it with. Then came the procedural twist that added even more tension to the weekend. Senior Managing Director Brad Moran confirmed the change was not just about extending practice. NASCAR was also revising the commitment line at New Hampshire, forcing every team to adjust to a brand new procedural wrinkle in the very same weekend. NASCAR said the decision had support from a substantial majority of the garage. But a majority is not unanimous, and the minority holding out might be exactly the teams that matter most. Would you have made this same call if you were running NASCAR? What the drivers said next split the entire garage in half. Here is the uncomfortable math nobody wanted to say out loud. Giving every team the same 50 minutes does not mean every team walks away with the same amount of information. A team stacked with engineers, simulators, and years of notebooks can extract far more value from those minutes than a smaller team still trying to figure out why its car is loose. Across the community, the reaction was split. Many fans initially celebrated the return of real, uninterrupted practice time, but a growing number pushed back, arguing that the biggest organizations already own enormous simulator advantages, and that real track time might not close the competitive gap at all. It might widen it. Kyle Larson offered a more balanced take. He said he did not feel the sport needed hours more of practice, but that he enjoys weekends with 50 minutes and 2 sets of tires because it gives teams time to make an adjustment and actually learn something from it. Bubba Wallace took the opposite approach, delivering a now famous 2-word reaction. That single word instantly became a talking point for just how divided the paddock really was. Ross Chastain, by contrast, responded with visible enthusiasm, sitting on the far opposite end of the reaction spectrum. Who actually benefits more from 50 minutes of practice? A powerhouse organization like Hendrick Motorsports with nearly unlimited resources, or a small shop still searching for a baseline? Comment your pick before you see what actually happened on track. Before going further, NASCAR Trackline TV is closing in on 1,500 subscribers, and every new subscriber helps keep breakdowns like this coming as the 2026 playoff picture tightens. If you have not joined yet, now is the moment. The tire situation raised the technical stakes even higher. Goodyear brought its short-track tire package to New Hampshire, the same left and right side compounds used the week before at Richmond Raceway, engineered to increase grip while producing heavier lap time fall-off as a run develops. This was not simply more laps. It was more opportunity to discover exactly how a car degrades over a run, information that separates teams who can read data from teams that are just guessing. Goodyear's Rick Heinrich explained that the extra tire allotment exists specifically because the new practice format means teams need more rubber to use the additional time meaningfully. The timing raised the stakes further. This was happening during the final stretch of the regular season, right before the playoff field locked in, meaning every wasted minute carried genuine championship weight. Do you think the extra tire set changes everything, or is NASCAR just trying to look generous? Think about what you would do with that second set if you were the crew chief calling the shots. The reaction inside the smaller shops leaned toward cautious optimism. Wood Brothers Racing crew chief Miles Stanley called the added practice a big thing, explaining that it gives his team the chance to strategize around how to use the second tire set and gain more meaningful reps. Spire Motorsports competition director Ryan Sparks echoed that sentiment, describing it simply as more opportunity to learn, particularly valuable for a driver like Daniel Suarez, who is visiting several tracks with Spire for the first time this season. But the skepticism never fully disappeared. Plenty across the community pointed out that this exact argument, more practice helps the underdogs, had been used before, and the powerhouse teams always found a way to turn any extra track time into an even bigger advantage. A sharper theory has also been circulating, suggesting this move was never really about competitive balance at all, but about fixing a television problem, since the old split group sessions were widely seen as a rating snooze, especially during the first group. Is this really about the drivers, or is it about better television? What happened on the actual track at New Hampshire made this debate even messier. Then came the twist nobody predicted. Tyler Reddick, who would go on to win the pole, was shockingly ranked only 31st in the new 50-minute session. He described being extremely unhappy with the practice, explaining the team knew exactly what it needed to work on but never got a clean lap in open air. Then his 23XI Racing Toyota transformed overnight, jumping to the top of the board in qualifying with a blistering lap. Did the extra practice actually help him, or did it barely matter at all? Christopher Bell showed strong long-run pace throughout practice. Bubba Wallace ranked near the front, and Team Penske placed 2 cars inside the top 5, proving the extra time did not produce one clear winner or loser. The additional 25 minutes did not reveal who the fastest team truly was. It revealed something messier, that the sport itself does not yet fully understand who this rule change is going to help. Reddick went from 31st to the pole overnight. Coincidence, or does 50 minutes of practice actually change nothing at all? This is not a one-week experiment. The policy is scheduled to remain in place for the rest of the 2026 season at every eligible non-superspeedway event, deliberately excluding Daytona and Talladega. That exclusion has reignited a frustration that has followed the sport for years. Why do the biggest, most dangerous tracks on the schedule still get zero practice, even as every other track gets more? The recurring explanation inside the garage is that teams are reluctant to risk expensive superspeedway cars in a pack during practice, but plenty across the community argue that excuse has been used for years without NASCAR ever truly testing it. And then there is New Hampshire itself, a 1.058-mile flat layout, a short-track tire built for heavy fall-off, and a looming weather threat that already forced the race start time to move earlier. Every team walked in with more information than ever before, and no one knew whether it would help the underdogs or bury them further. NASCAR has created a real competitive experiment with no guaranteed outcome. If the underdogs rise, it proves the sport listened. If the powerhouse teams pull further ahead, it proves NASCAR just handed them another weapon. New Hampshire was just the first test. The real question NASCAR has to answer is coming, and it is going to follow this sport for the rest of the season. When everyone gets more time, who actually gets better and who gets exposed? Comment your take below and share this with another fan who needs to see how deep this divide really goes. If you enjoy real NASCAR breakdowns like this, you'll like what's coming next.